Run-ons. Two sentences are run together with no adequate sign to mark the break between them. Fused sentences. Run-on sentences that are joined together as if they were one thought. Example: our father was a madman in his youth. He would do anything on a dare. Comma splice. Run-ons where a comma is used to connect or splice together the two thoughts. Example: our father was a madman in his youth, comma, he would do anything on a dare. Note, a comma is not a connection between two thoughts. A comma alone is not sufficient. A stronger, clear mark is needed. 4 common methods of correcting a run-on. Number 1. Use a period and a capital letter to break the thoughts into separate sentences. Number 2. Use comma plus a joining word, fanboy, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Number 3. Use a semicolon to connect the two thoughts. Number 4. Use subordination.
Fragments. A fragment is a word group that lacks a subject or a verb and or one that does not express a complete thought. The most common types of fragments are dependent word fragments, in and to fragments, added detail fragments, and missing subject fragments. Some word groups that begin with a dependent word are fragments. Whenever you start a sentence with one of the words listed on the next slide, you must be careful that a fragment does not result. Dependent words list: after, although, though, as, because, before, even though, how, if, even if, in order that, since, that, so that, unless, until, what, whatever, when, whenever, which, whichever, where, wherever, while, who, whoever, whose, whether. Let's look at fragment sentence examples. After I learned the price of new cars, I decided to keep my old pickup. The underlined sentence is a fragment. Let's look at another example. He made an early appointment, which he did not intend to keep. The underlined sentence is another fragment. Correcting a dependent word fragment. In most cases, you can correct a dependent word fragment by attaching it to the sentence that comes after it or to the sentence that comes before it. Example: after I learned the price of new cars, comma, I decided to keep my old pickup. The fragment has been attached to the sentence that comes after it. The next example is: he made an early appointment, comma, which he did not intend to keep. The fragment has been attached to the sentence that comes before it.
ing and two fragments. When an ing word appears at or near the start of a word group, a fragment may result. Such fragments often lack a subject and part of the verb. When to appears at or near the start of a word group, a fragment sometimes results. Example 1, incorrect. The astronomer gazed intently through the telescope, hoping to catch a glimpse of the meteor. Example 2, incorrect. He works 8 hours a day, then going to class for 3 hours. Example 1, incorrect. I plan on working overtime to get this job finished. Otherwise, my boss might get angry at me. Example 2 incorrect. Jack bundled up and went outside on the bitterly cold day to saw wood for his fireplace. He returned half frozen with only 2 logs. We can correct these fragments by 1. Attaching the fragment to a complete thought that precedes or follows it. 2. Adding a subject or a verb to the fragment to make it a complete sentence. Example 1 corrected. The astronomer gazed intently through the telescope, hoping to catch a glimpse of the meteor. Example 2 corrected. He works 8 hours a day, period, then he goes to class for 3 hours. Example 1 corrected. I plan on working overtime to get this job finished. Example 2 corrected. Jack bundled up and went outside the bitterly cold day to saw wood for his fireplace.
Add a detailed fragment, often like a subject and a verb. It does not express a complete thought. Often begins with also, especially, except, for example, including, such as. Example: my son has several pets in his room, including lions and bears. To correct, attach a fragment to preceding sentence, or add a subject and verb to the fragment. Example: my son has several pets in his room, comma, including lions and bears.
Missing subject fragments. Rules: attach a fragment to the preceding sentence. Add a subject or a pronoun so the sentence could stand alone. The it clause is normally founded by the author's opinion, switching focus to the speaker. Example: fragment correction. Montana is bordered by North Dakota to the east and also by Wyoming to the south. Example: adding subject. The boy was gathering speed with enormous force. Example: id subject. It is a pleasant surprise that the president thinks he is funny.